of that particular book described an evolutionary development of them guiding scientists to the point that they, with the demons and the spiritual powers and the hierarchy, would open a gateway and bring down the veil and open the door between that side and this. The demons would teach the scientists how to do it. Now, is this what's happening? Is there a dark presence along with this demon god that they are honoring at CERN? Is this what is occurring? Is this going to be used to open the dimensional gateway? Now, I could say that's a very clear possibility for a number of reasons. Scientists from CERN, and I quoted this when I did the series, it's out there. One of the scientists says this, that he fears that what they're going to do is they know they're going to open up temporary black holes, but he fears they may open up one so big that they can't shut it, and it would be cataclysmic to the human race. So the other side is, does the dark side tell the scientists what they're doing in order to, bring about, their agenda in the world? No. And this is very important for Armageddon also, because Armageddon itself, Revelation 19:19, when the beast goes on the field, he has the largest, most sophisticated, most powerful, but yet demonized soldier army base in human history there to raise their weapons towards the sky. They're going to try to eliminate Christ's visible descent. That's what Armageddon's all about. How does he get the weapons? How do they get the weapons for that day in the descent of the visible descent of Christ to raise their weapons to try to stop his descent? That's what Armageddon's all about. That's been missed for hundreds of years by the theologians and even prophecy teachers. Armageddon is all about not wars against nations, the globalist, most powerful, demonized nation. Now, if you look at Revelation 19:19, back up to Revelation 16, and out of the mouth of the dragon, out of the mouth of the Antichrist, out of the mouth of the false prophet come demons. They are sent out to the kings of the earth to look at the design, look at the target, look at the reason, to gather them together for the great day of God Almighty for Armageddon. Now, it's a spiritual global release to gather them together for this development. I don't believe when all hell begins to break loose on a global scale, all of these events have particular, it's all going to be by demonic power. Even in the book of Daniel, the prophecy in Daniel, God shows the beginnings of the little horn and his beast system coming. That it's not by human hands, meaning that it's a supernatural, and it won't come down by human hands. God's going to bring it down. And that's when Christ returns. So the declaration 2,600 years ago, this entire system is going to come about by supernatural power, and will only come down by a higher supernatural power, God, in Christ specifically. So CERN to me is another possible. I mentioned in my maybe you saw it in one of the presentations when I did R1919, a book out by DoD and NASA, their weapons development specialists. The title of the book, Planetary Defense Weapon Systems. They believe they need to develop planetary weapons that can shoot up into the sky in case some dimensional door opens and something comes down towards the Earth. I believe that's nothing more than Satan prepping scientists to develop the weapons that he needs to try to stop Christ. I believe CERN, and again, it's my opinion, I believe CERN is a spiritually guided high technology that its ultimate use is not even yet in the minds of the scientists that are there. Satan has his predatory, future use. Could that be what opens a gateway, a dimensional gateway to that very abyss that allows what's there to descend on the earth? I believe that's a high possibility.
Man, that's enough to keep you awake at night. I mean, we're all are concerned about what's going on in the, what's going on, and in your book, The Black Awakening, you do discuss a lot about Revelation 19:19, and of course, the one statement when you were talking here, I looked it up in your book. You write, read Revelation 19:19 again, and you will see that the demons sent had an assignment. They had their designated target. And you go on to discuss this. The targets of Illuminati, Luciferian, or Ancient Brotherhood are, and of course you go through the list of pastors and Christian leaders, churches, and especially the ones that matter to them, the Bible rich churches, Christian ministries that are making a great effect, political leaders who need to be recruited or influenced. I'm starting to put this together, as you were laying this out, as we see here the final battle is shaping up. It's not just going to be weapons of war of man, but of, as you put it, weapons of war of other dimensions. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez.
Yes.
Okay.
So I really believe that the book written by Alice Bailey, who wrote 21 volumes, when an entity fused, they call it fused into her, she sat down 6 to 8 hours a day. That's part of the prophecy of 1 Timothy 4:1, when the Spirit expressly says that in the latter times, many are going to be, believing faith. Why? Because now the Greek word planos, seducing, imposter-oriented spirits, they're going to come to deceive the many, but they're also going to come to guide some people into writings, to write charged literature. I believe every one of her writing her books, and I got quite a few of them, I believe they have been some of the most spiritually charged literature I've ever seen. Her book, Hierarchy of the Externalization of the Hierarchy, is all about, in my view of it, reading it, looking at it, examining it, I really believe it's a real demonic teaching on how they will proceed. And their goal is to, according to that book anyway, their goal is to operate, breathe down the necks of, lead, guide, direct scientists to develop the technologies that will open the doors to that dimension, which, again, CERN very pointedly can do. If they're going to create, dimensional rifts, that's what opening the gate in Revelation 9 is all about. It's opening up to another, wherever it's actually located. The abusos is dimensionally a lockdown, and when that is open, it has a massive global tearing up. It's literally going to bring a massive tearing up to the atmosphere on a global scale, and let alone the entities that are going to come rushing out of it. It's like a blast furnace. So I do believe it's an opening dimensionally of the abyss, and the CERN thing can do that. But I also believe that technologies to, like particle beams, chemical lasers, and something even beyond that, are going to be guided by entities breathing down the necks of weapons development specialists in the DoD or other places around the world, just as they were guiding to create Psi Warriors in Russia and the United States. I believe they've got to have that weaponry. So this is what's great about biblical prophecy. It shows us the future. And that's what I did with Revelation 19:19. I said, listen, that one verse shows us that Antichrist makes it on the field, that he actually has a globalist army, and that army isn't to fight each other. They're going to raise their weapons into the sky. What kind of weapons will those be? That's going to be that's the apex. That's the culmination, because that's the day in which Jesus is going to bring utter, absolute annihilation of the globalist, most powerful pinnacle of their existence. He's going to destroy it within 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, and throw the Antichrist and the false prophet. So all the globalists and all the real Luciferians that believe that the Lucifer guys is, once again, they're going to be, just like in all of history with him, going to be blown out of the waters. All those who have aligned with him are going to be blown out of the waters, are going to lose their souls. It's already prophesied. Those who think they're going to be the troops of Antichrist are going to be the fodder Revelation 19, verse 20 and 21 is all about them. They're going to be utter destruction, but in order to be there, Doug and Joe, the development of the most sophisticated weapons in human history, and I believe that the only way that can come about is through demonic guidance, the charging of minds. I believe we can find a history, even there's a book called Spies. I'm forgetting the name. Jim Mars wrote the book, and he quotes how the Germans would always talk about how the Nazis would talk about how his quote was, non-human intelligences would guide them in the development of weapons. Well, that's true in Adelsberg Castle, where they used to sit, meditate with the 13 skulls, charged skulls, to get the guidance from non-human entities, demons. They didn't call them demons. They called them non-human entities, to give them advantage in war. The weaponization of demonic presence goes back to the king of Moab in the Old Testament, where he weaponized powers to fall on his army to defeat Israel. And when he did what he did, a human sacrifice, the powers fell on the army, the Moabites, and they defeated Israel. Supernatural powers will be involved in the development of the technologies and the development of the super soldiers for Revelation 19:19, and I think that's still connected to in part of the reasons for the abyss. We don't even have time to go into that, but God has given this picture already. We already have this future global, unbelievable event. And notice how this too, Doug and Joe, that you hear it on Coast to Coast, you hear it everywhere else. There's literally thousands worldwide. Dr. Stephen Greer, the rest of them, they're doing everything they can, using every occult means to contact the Orions, the Pleiadians, and so forth. And get them to materialize, to become the host, to get disclosure. They all want disclosure. They all want them to come. They all want them to arrive. You know what? They're going to arrive. In Revelation 9, they're going to come down upon the earth, but it's not what they think. They're being used to create the doorway, and that doorway will be opened. And when those things come down upon the earth, look at the results. Destruction to humanity. The alien ones preserved, those who have the mark of God.
Yeah. And
that's not what they think, I mean, yeah.
And I got a question here, Russ, from a listener, and this has to do with the Black Awakening. This is from Charlotte. She says she met you several years ago for help, and goes on to say, every time I see pictures of ISIS, how they dress and what they are doing and threatening, I wonder if they are part of the Black Awakening, and could they be somehow related to the underground Nazi activity? I've especially wondered this since we've begun to hear ISIS has infiltrated the U.S. and made threats against Americans. As a very young preschool child, I had vivid dreams about a Nazi-type takeover here in the United States, and think those were probably related to my early SRA programming.
Sure. Well, first of all, blessings, and may God's kindness and grace to Charlotte remember you, and remember you well, and pray for God's blessings and kindness to you and healing all the way. Now, yeah, I agree with her. I mean, Charlotte, as you say right there, millions of people, of victims like Charlotte, can all tell you the same thing. Whether anybody wants to believe it or not, they all of the SRAs, when they really get down to the cult loyal parts, they all know they've been created to be the troops of the coming Superman, the Antichrist, as we see him. So, and it all has its roots in the Nazism and the Lebensborn and so forth. So, so on that field, I think she's absolutely right, along with all the rest of them, that that's what they've been created for. That's the dark side's agenda for them. Now, the other side of this is ISIS. Let's remember who Allah is. And every political person and every individual and every person that's really smart should understand this. Allah has never been, is not, and never will be God, capital G. Allah is an entity, most likely the Prince of Persia, that was back in Daniel's day over that exact land, over that exact area. The exact territorial area that you have the old Persian kingdom is where you find now Iraq and Iran and all the surrounding areas where Allah is embraced. Allah is real. He is a high level demonic entity, more than territorial. I believe he is national, regional, but a high-level entity. Anybody